Good afternoon. My name is Olivia Kingry. I'm a marketing assistant at the Division of Continuing Studies. On behalf of the Rutgers University Online Learning Conference, I'm delighted to introduce Jeffrey Riley, owner of Practical Learning Concepts. We are pleased to have him present Escape Certification Cave with xAPI. During the presentation, please use live Q&A to ask any questions of the presenter. At the end of each presentation today, there will be a short survey displayed. Any feedback you can provide is greatly appreciated.
As a way of introduction, please fill out the poll to let me know who are my audience. What role do you play? Are you instructional designer, professor? So answer that poll and let me know. In the meantime, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background about what I've started here. I've been working with clients on compliance training, and that can be pretty boring. But I wanted to find a way that would make compliance a little bit more interesting, but also give the business some data that they needed. In the situation of the, I see it's popped up there in the main stage. Good. I see that, no, not answering the polls. That's okay. But what I do kind of understand, and since we're in a more college environment, you could still do these techniques in a college course, especially if you wanted to get something in feedback from your course of who's in the course, what are their roles, what are their backgrounds, whatever information you might need from them. xAPI is a way to create data to find all of that, and that's where we're going. So in my case, because I was working with a particular business, I was trying to figure out, well, what business information do we need to capture? And I'll talk about that more in a minute. But I wanted to be able to, a lot of instructional designers, 100% so far. Wow. Let's see, we're going to share that? We can share it. So anyway, I wanted to be able to get the information that a person would enter into the game and or click on and then get a report. And that's where I started with all of this. I'm not going to go deeply into compliance because I'm sure all of you understand what compliance is and that it can be different depending on, is it government requirements? Are there evaluating requirements? Associations who offer certifications, they have compliance, and a business or a school. And I know from previous sessions here at the conference, Rutgers has its own compliance requirements. So we know that's all going to be true. So let's talk a little bit about the other element to this, and that's xAPI. And let's see, we'll end this. And if we can launch the other poll, I want to find out what experience levels do any of you have. Yeah, here we go. I can hit start. So what experience do you as an audience, what experience do you have with xAPI? And we'll talk about what that is, because what I'm going to share, I can't literally teach you how to put all this together in this 25-minute session. What I can do is show you the pieces and the parts and how to find ways to get them put together. That's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, looks like we have, most people have some experience, and that's good. So what I thought of as xAPI was that it was going to track all learning. It would replace SCORM. So can you put in the discussion forum, what's been your experience with xAPI? Do you have any experience with it? Have you, if you're not using it, what do you think xAPI should do? But as you can see from that last graphic, a lot of businesses are not getting involved in it right now, although it's grown a lot in the last 10 years. One of the first roadblocks I ran into was trying to create this code in order to get this into a game that I was creating. And as you can see from the example on the screen, it can be a lot of information, a lot of coding, a lot of information you have to try to create. Well, I realized that after doing some work with other programmers, other instructional designers, that for me to build it by myself was going to be a pretty difficult task. I was going to have to be a JavaScript guru, and I really wasn't ready to go there. So I went out and I looked for resources, and those resources, which again I'm going to have at the end as a handout, is what made up all of the elements that go into xAPI and the game and putting everything together. And that's why I want to review this. The xAPI statement, and the word X, the letter X, is standing for the word experience. The idea is we're trying to capture experiences that learners are having. You need the code that's called the xAPI statement to put that into your game or whatever it is to get it to work. The activity provider is the tool that you use to create the code. You have to have a learning record store to store the xAPI data. You have to have a learning management system for the learner to have an interface with it so they can actually get a game or get an e-learning or whatever it is. And then you need an authoring tool or some tool that allows you to build all of this and, again, make a game out of it, or e-learning. It doesn't have to be a game, but I wanted it to be a game. So my experience looked like this map. My first experience was all over the place. I zigged and zagged around because I didn't know what I was doing and I got lost. So what I'm going to suggest is you follow this pattern. First, create a story. Even if it's e-learning, if it's a gamification, you really want to wrap everything around a story. Then you want to gather your images and challenges and things that you're going to have in the game to challenge people and to get them to have to think, because that's where the real activity is anyway. You need to find out if your learning management system has a learning record store already connected to it, or do you need to find and connect one? Most learning management systems are not connected to an LRS, a learning record store. You need to choose an authoring tool, and there's so many available. I won't go into all of them. But then if you don't want to be the coder, if you don't want to write JavaScript, then you need to do something called the xAPI builder. And I'm going to go into detail on that in a minute. And then when you put this together, this is an iterative process. Gamification, e-learning, build it, tear it down, build it, rebuild it. It's a normal part of that process. I'm not going to go into depth about stories, but you really need a story because the narration and the instructions will help people get through the game. And then in my case, I decided to make it a cave. After all, if they're in compliance and it's not going well, they're in a dark place. So I talked about graphics and challenges. In my handout, I have some resources to go for graphics, but you want to, of course, have the graphics support the theme of your story. In this case, a cave and being lost and treasure and all that fun stuff. And you can get those in places like freepick.com. There's so many others. Like I said, I have them listed. I sometimes use Pinterest for games like this, visual games, word puzzles, all kinds of places to get that information. In this case, the Talent LMS is the LMS that I used, and I'm not going to review all that. One of the things I knew I needed to do, I needed to define the data that I was going to collect so that I would build that into my game. And I was going to because this is a prototype and nobody's really using it right now, I wanted to keep everything simple. 4 pieces of data, small type of game. Make it easy, simple for me to deal with. So one of the things I did do was I went out and I went to Word and I opened it up and I started actually building the information that I wanted in my game. You do need to think ahead, plan ahead, have information like how many levels and what kind of things. Because I kind of thought of a cave, I was going to loosely borrow from the Aladdin stories. So that's one way to do things. Get rid of that. The other thing then is that you want to build in your authoring tool the elements that you're going to need that will be the game. So let's jump to that. So here's a screen that shows It shows a cave. I have script. This is part of my story. I have to explain to the player what to do. If I don't tell them what to do, they might find the game too difficult to play. And then I have elements in the game that are objects that get clicked on and things happen and work. And you can set up literally anything that you want. But one of the things that I find useful is make sure that your game, again, has enough instructions in it. People feel comfortable with the game. The other thing that you need is then a place to keep your data. And that's what I've done here. In Articulate Storyline, you can create what are called variables. And variables are used to capture text, capture clicks, and that's what I've done here. The tool, though, that I needed to make work, let's see, this is the problem when you get too many windows open. All right, here we go. And let's skip on down to where I want to be, which is I want to go to, well, let's close it. Here we go. I want to go to this screen. The xAPI Builder is a tool that's created by Torrance Learning. Torrance Learning is also the people you want to connect with to learn about xAPI. What's going on with that organization is totally amazing. And I absolutely recommend that you do that. But the xAPI Builder is literally a software tool that you use that you don't have to be a programmer. All the information you need is here. And when you go onto their website, they have videos and all kinds of things that help you understand, how do I make this work? The best part about their software is that if you don't know anything about record stores, they help you connect all of that together. Also, it's a walkthrough process. You don't have to know the code. You enter the information into the system. It builds the code for you. All right. And let's jump back to this. Whoops. All right, let's try it again. Why did it go away? Okay. It doesn't want to pop up again for me. Oh, it keeps giving me an error message, and I don't know why it's doing that. Best laid plans, right? See if I can go. Well, come on. Here we go. Once you get the JavaScript written, then you can place it in the system. And like I said at the beginning, I really can't teach you all the steps you need to make this work, but it is doable. It takes a bit of time. You also want to do things like include in your game questions that people have to answer that get scored. That way you can give feedback. You can also give feedback within the game. If you know your authoring tool, you'll know how to do that. As far as I know, the xAPI Builder works with any of the major authoring tools that are out there. I just happen to use Storyline. And once you get it together, then the game not only runs, but it takes the data from what the player types into the game or selects, because that was the other thing I wanted to find out. Could they, that's not it. Here we go. Could they click a list of items, and that click would also get captured by xAPI, and it does. You can actually do even more things than what I did on this particular prototype. Okay, we're doing well time-wise. One of the things I want to do then is put in here into the discussion. Let's see. A link to the PDF for this is where you'll find resources. I'm told that what you need to do in the discussion is copy this and paste it into your browser, that clicking the link won't actually create it. But this set of resources also has my contact information if you want to get back to me and ask me how I did stuff. because I will tell you that it takes several months, probably it took me several months to build the first version. So it could take you that. Copy and paste your link into the browser. Yep. Yep. That way you'll get the resources, which basically I gave you a lot of information about where to go to learn about xAPI. If you don't know anything about it, you can learn something about it. I put in Devlin Peck has a lot of amazing resources on the internet that you can use. Let's see, do we have anything in Q&A? I'm showing live. Okay. Nothing else in the, okay. My program has not used xAPI to date. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know one of the things that I showed in that graphic before, it's been difficult for organizations to use xAPI because it takes the level of expertise to get this stuff done. If you use the xAPI builder, that will help you get over one of those bridges, because that was one of the things that I didn't want to be a programmer, but I can fill in a form. I can take the information from my story, plug it into that form, and it can work. And you'll be surprised at how easy that actually is. Any questions or things that I've covered that you want me to repeat? 3:17, about 8 more minutes, so open to any questions. And I think for me, the good news has been, if you just want to experiment with this, everything that I've done here is actually free. SCORM Cloud has a learning record store built into it. Talent LMS will allow you to have a free account and practice with it. It's a pretty easy LMS to use. If you already have an LMS, but you need a learning record store, there are sources to look for to find learning record stores, and there's some that are free. If you join the, let's see, it's the xAPI, what's the cohort? I've got it in the resources list. But I would, if you're really interested in doing this and you want to know a lot more, join the xAPI cohort. It's free. It runs every spring and fall for 13 weeks. It's amazing. Rutgers uses Canvas LMS, transacted away. Okay. That's one of the things that you would need to find out. If you're here at Rutgers or at another school, or if you're at a business and you have an LMS, you're going to have to find out, will it connect with these other things? And I think if you spend enough time, you'll discover that everything connects to something and it works. But you might have to find exactly which one actually works for you. Okay. But the other thing, I think if more people use xAPI, especially from the examples that I've seen in the cohort, you will be surprised at what information you can learn about the people who are taking your courses and how they're using the courses and if they're learning from them or not. And that really was the initial use of xAPI, was to try and figure out, is the learning working and is it working the way we want it to? Okay, and I don't see anything else in discussion. Okay. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We're 3:19, so sounds great. Hope everybody has a good rest of their conference.